Hello my fellow degenerates, my name is Billy and welcome to the AVN channel's review of Summer Heat. Summer Heat is a romantic visual novel developed by Naughty Fox Games, currently on version 0.5 from Patreon and 0.43 from itch. 0.6 is currently in development, but with 0.5 being available, one would think they're about halfway through the game. But I really hope not. Let me explain why. But before I do that, have you played Summer Heat before? If so, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments, and also who's your best girl. In Summer Heat, you play a young male adult who's just signed up to go to summer art camp to work on some photography. Due to some unforeseen circumstances, the camp has had to relocate and is now taking place at one of the teachers' houses. A hot single teacher with a nice, big house and a swimming pool out back. Luckily, most of the people who were to attend decided to cancel when they discovered the change of location, leaving just about 7 students. Yourself, your male best friend, 4 hot girls, and Hannah. When you arrive, the 2 teachers establish the rules of the camp and we decide on how to divide the rooms between the students. We spend the opening hours of the game learning about the other characters and introducing ourselves, at which point we're dragged out to go shopping for some food with a male teacher, Mr. Miller, a total wanker. He messed up and bought a box load of hot dogs for the summer because a healthy diet consists of frozen hot dogs, good ones each. And then the moron decides to go let them all defrost, so now we don't even have them. And because Miss Boobs asked us, we're obviously going to jump at the chance to help her and go shopping with Miller. During our outing, we discovered that the police in this area have a problem with Miller, and maybe the police in this area aren't as innocent as they look either. When we return home, we do a small icebreaker with the group, and then we do some fitness, again with Mr. Miller. Turns out he's a PE teacher, and you know what to say folks, if you can't do, you teach, and if you can't teach, you teach PE. And he can't even teach PE, the guy's goddamn useless, and is constantly distracted by what's going on his phone. But we eventually return home, we spend some time with the girls, and then we're dragged out with Miller once again, where he takes us to a strip club, because he has something to deal with. That's a great place to take one of your students, teacher, to a strip club. I mean, I'm not complaining, but still. We get absolutely shit-faced and then we head home and finally go to bed. And yes, this all happens in one day, and that's it. The entire game so far all takes place on the first day. Who we spend our time with does depend on the choices that we make during the game, except for the parts where we're forced to go with Mr. Miller. Like really, a house full of hot women and we have to spend time with that. But in regards to the story so far, we don't actually have much, and this is what worries me since we're already in chapter 5. We have the start of some plot lines, but nothing beyond that. I want to know what Miller's up to. I want to unravel what's going on between Bree and Sophie, or why Eve is so depressing. But all we have is introductions to the storylines. And despite the fact that so much happens in one day, nothing of substance really happens so far. It has potential and it has definitely sparked my interest, but as it pertains at the moment, beyond the character introductions, we don't get real much content of substance. And in regards to chapters, the lengths are very short, and I mean short. Apart from chapter 5. I hit chapter 4 in just under 2 hours, and then the rest of it, about another hour or 2, was chapter 5. I didn't even realise how far I was into the game until I checked the gallery to see what stuff I had to unlock, and noticed that I'd missed stuff in chapters 2, but I'd already unlocked some stuff in chapter 4. I was like, really? I'm chapter 4 already? But yeah, chapter 5 probably has more content than all the other chapters combined. To say that this game has been in development for over 2 years, it's only about 4 to 6 hours worth of content, and that to me is concerning, and that it took about a year between chapter 4 and 5 for so little content. Now, I hate to use update periods as a key factor when reviewing a game, and that itself is an entire discussion on its own, but I do think it's fair only to inform my lovely degenerate viewers, and in this case, I think it's relevant to the review itself. Over 2 years with very little story to show for it, how long till we actually get something substantial? Summer Heat attempts to take a more realistic approach to the characters. Being a romantic visual novel, Naughty Fox Games have said that the game won't have a harem ending, but you can pursue multiple girls at once, but I'm guessing when you found out in a later update, them said girls won't be too happy with you. The realism however goes right out the window when you realise how quick things begin to get deep with the girls. Now, Mia makes sense. She's your childhood friend and has clearly been interested in the MC for a long time. Even the MC himself states that they've nearly crossed that line before. Bree can also be a kind of believable character in regards to how things progress with her and the MC. She seems like she's just a fun-loving girl who wants to enjoy life and has little concern for caution. However, she's not the sharpest tool in the shed. In fact, I think it goes beyond her not being smart, but some sort of mental issue. And I don't mean this in an offensive way, it's just her friend Sophie seems to be as much of her friend as a kind of carer for her, which kind of becomes a problem when the MC pursues them both. We haven't clashed yet, but I can see someone getting their heart broken and the MC tearing this friendship apart if we follow that route. But the way Bree is with Sophie, it seems a little too controlling. Evelyn, or Eve, is one of the least believable characters in regards to relationship progress. Now don't get me wrong, I do like her, but my issue with her is that she's actually an antisocial loner goth type of girl, at least that's how she's portrayed at first. Yet, in less than 24 hours, she wants to watch the MC jerking the gherkin. Okay, evil of us, calm down. Maybe she's just a closet freak, but it just feels like a big juxtaposition of how we're actually introduced to her. And then my least believable is Miss Hill. She never actually offers herself to the MC, but at one point there's a bit of a back and forth between them and you can see she's tempted by the MC. Remember, even if the MC is of legal age, at this point he is still her student. Now I know it's a visual novel and these kind of things happen in visual novels, that's fine, I ain't got a problem with that, but if she can't keep it to herself within one day of meeting him, how's she gonna manage for weeks that they'll be living together? She won't, we're gonna bang the teacher.
We're bang, okay?
Now, despite all this, I'm not saying I don't enjoy the characters and the relationships between them. Hell, even Hannah's funny with her delusional opinion of herself. It just feels like some things are starting to get a little too serious with the girls on the first day of meeting them. Now, I'm not saying you can't have a little fun. Hell, you can rail someone you've only just met, that's fine as long as it's between two consenting adults. Go f***ing wild. But when Sophie's telling you not to hurt Bree or break her heart when you have only just been talking to her with a bit of flirting, I'm thinking calm down. It's not like I'm pledging my life to this girl. Although, given the opportunity... Take me to church, I was like a dog at the shrine of your life. It all just feels like the relationships go from 0 to 60 pretty fast, and that's mainly due to the fact that there isn't really much of a story so far in the game, and everything just happens in such a short period of time, that being less than 24 hours. But I do really want to see what happens in the future updates with the characters and their stories, but I do also feel like it's an adult visual novel of Solomon Grundy. I mean, are we going to be getting married by the third day? There are a few mechanics in Summer Heat, but nothing too major. We have our basic dialogue choice system, which we usually get in AVNs, and so far it seems to have a decent impact. It's currently the deciding factor of who we spend our time with, so in future updates I can see the game having a good amount of branches depending on what we choose. It also seems it could possibly affect the characters' opinions of us. There's this one scene where we're talking to Bree and Sophie and Mia sees us and she just walks off, seemingly a little bit jealous. We can then choose to follow her or just stay with a girl, so I'm sure choices like this might affect the way that these characters react to us later. If we follow Mia, Bree and Sophie are going to react to us a little bit different because they're going to be cautious of Mia, or vice versa. Is Mia going to then be cautious when Bree and Sophie are around more? We also have a few little free roam segments. They're not too big, so if you're not a fan of free roam, don't let this put you off. They currently don't take a significant role in the story, but during these free roam segments we can look for hidden renders, and some of them are pretty well hidden. And we also have a phone system. The phone system, we have a Tinder-esque type app called Ember, where we can chat to other girls not involved within the game. Depending on what we say to them decides whether they reply and what they send. You also get quite a few opportunities to reset the chat during this, so it's pretty hard to get wrong. I'm just interested to see if these girls actually do eventually make it into the game and meet them face to face, or are they all going to be stuck and condemned to the app? Or maybe one of them is just hard at playing you. Another app we have on our phone is AI Adventures, a mini text-based AI generated RPG where we make choices again to see what happens. I swear to God, this game puts Dark Souls to shame. It's absolutely random and there is one choice might work last time, but the next time that choice just might absolutely screw you.
Phrasing. Shut up!
This is all we have for mechanics at this point, but since our MC wants to do photography, I think a photography minigame might be good to add that in there. We do get the opportunity to take pictures, but this doesn't really stray too far from a simple dialogue system at the moment, so I'd like to see something implemented in that regards, but also at the same time I don't want to add more development time for every update. Now this is where Summer Heat really stands out. The renders, absolutely gorgeous. Honestly, possibly some of the best I've seen. I've said that before, but I mean it. They are some of the best I've seen. I mean, look at them. The characters look amazing. The environments look great. There's even a pool scene, and the characters actually look wet. Like, actually wet. Like water, and not covered in some random undefined goo. Looks like water. I usually take screenshots of the main characters for the sake of the review. Well, in this it actually took over 100 during this game. And it's not just of the characters, even random environmental shots as well. I mean, look at this. You could print this and hang it on your friggin' wall. Not only this, during conversations there are a lot of renders, with characters making slight movements and a good variation of shots. This is impressive with the quality of shots, and it keeps the on-screen images interesting. Honestly though, I can't sing this game's praises enough in regards to the renders. And with that, the UI is also clear and easily readable. There are no text boxes, thank God, meaning it's not going to ruin these gorgeous renders. And the names each have different colours and are clearly defined, and you can choose your character's name's colour as well. The text has a stroke on it, meaning that it stands out in both light and dark environments. However, what little animations there are, they do look good and the quality of the character doesn't drop during them, but the loops do tend to be short and there aren't a significant amount of them. In fact, the amount of animations is probably the only letdown for the visuals department. Other than that, visuals is absolutely 10/10 top quality all the way through. Now, there isn't a lot of music in the game, but what we do get is good, and I swear I've heard this menu music somewhere before. Please, if you have heard this before and you know where it's from, let me know. It's driving me mad. But either way, the music is used in a good way and is reserved for certain scenes to emphasise the story elements. I've said this before, but that's the way I really like the music being used. Having constant music in the background doesn't bother me, but it's nice and adds a lot of emotional impact to certain scenes when it's used correctly. I mean, there is usage of music mixed in with the ambient noise, like you have a radio playing or music at a club, but these aren't there to use as background music. They're built into the environment, so they're not too overpowering and you can hear a lot of the ambient noise with it. Speaking of ambient noise, whilst there isn't any of music, we do have a good amount of it, and also with sound effects. We have the rustling of clothes, a door opening and closing, footsteps and so on. With the noise of the wind in the trees or crickets chirping at night, this really helps build the scene, but one thing that does get kind of annoying is the sound effects. Like I said, you have a sound effect even for the slightest movements. This means between nearly every render transition, there is a sound effect. And sometimes, especially when there are frequent render changes, you keep hearing the same sound over and over again. It drives me up the king wall. But then again, that's probably just me being picky. When it comes to loot, this is another area where the game falls short. We do have a couple of loot scenes, but they're only really with the side girls, and nothing much really with the main girls at this point. Which is probably the only thing the game's relationship doesn't rush into with the main girls. But marriage, yeah, we'll get that done tomorrow. I mean, we have come close, but people in this game seem to really like to cockblock you. And when we actually get to the loot scenes, there isn't actually much of an animation. Most of it just consists of still renders. And not only that, during these scenes, there isn't actually much variation or interaction during them. The animations do look good, and the sound effects we have throughout the scenes are actually not too bad neither. But it's the only sounds of movements and things going in and out and whatnot. Careful what I say because of YouTube. But there's no voicing, no moans. Hopefully, as the game progresses, we'll actually see a few more animations, but again, I feel like animations are just going to add to that development time, which concerns me. Maybe the big ones are going to be reserved just for the main girls and key moments, but I guess it's just another we'll have to wait and see. So there are some great girls in this game. Eve is a bit on the darker side, and I'm just curious of how things develop with her. The relationship with Brie and Sophie is also something I'm looking forward to, and I really do hope we get to see some of their history and how they met and became really good friends. But as always, there can only be one, and that choice, well, this time it's just obvious, innit? Summer Heat's best girl is Bree. I mean, look at her. Red hair, green eyes, and goddamn, whoever said nobody's perfect never met Bree. In all seriousness though, I really do like her character. We don't know much about her yet, but out of all the girls we've met in the game, she interests me the most. This is mainly from how Sophie is with her, and she seems, well, let's say, very unintelligent. But I really think there is more to it, and I really want to know what that is. Not only that, but this girl is gonna be DTF. She's definitely going to be a freak, definitely. But beyond all this, beyond her appearance and beyond her personality, there is something that draws me to her, and I really don't know what it is. I just can't put my finger on it, and that's why I really want to explore her route in future updates. So, overall, Summer Heat has some great potential. It looks amazing, the audio's good, and it's definitely sparking my interest, but at this point, it goes a little beyond that. There isn't much to the story, and it feels like we're just getting started pulling on them threads, waiting for things to start to unravel. And honestly, I don't know how long it's going to be until we actually get to the point where we're actually diving into these plots. The updates to the game do seem slow, and it doesn't bring significant progress. The first 5 chapters are mainly introducing characters, and if you intend to end the game on 1.0, then we're already halfway there, and that concerns me. But ultimately, would I recommend the game to you? Yes and no. Yes, I would recommend giving it a chance. It's good, but just not yet. First, I'd let it cook a bit, or you're gonna catch up really quick and you just be left wanting more because there simply isn't much to offer at the moment. Maybe check back in another update or two just to see how much progress has been made. But also remember, if you do want to check it out now, that's fine. You can get the update prior to the latest one free on itch, so you can't really complain at that there. The only thing it's really going to cost you is a few hours of your time, which is arguably more valuable than money, but that's that. Anyway, speaking of wasting time, I'm going to go back to playing Helldivers 2.
For managed democracy!